LeBron is on that woke shit again.
So rolling with the champion, straight up upgraded. I got the NBA in the backseat. Right? So we're in Akron, Ohio.
So world famous NBA basketball players LeBron James and Kevin Durant have recently found themselves caught up in a controversy due to some statements that they've made pertaining to the President of the United States, Donald Trump. In a feature that has been produced by LeBron James, in which he and Kevin Durant are riding in the back of an Uber car driven by one of the lead ESPN analysts, Kerry Champion, they responded to some of her questions regarding America's current state of affairs racially and politically by once again trying to perpetuate their one-sided verbal assault on Donald Trump. If you guys have been following the series of videos that I've made pertaining to that topic over the last year, I've stated that LeBron James is focused on getting Donald Trump involved in a back and forth. Donald Trump has yet to give in to LeBron James's yearning for attention. And it's very, very clear that LeBron is still set on getting Donald Trump into that volleying of verbal barrages so that he can build up his woke points. I told you guys that LeBron James is trying to take over for Colin Kaepernick as the lead woke athlete, and the best way to do it is to get involved in a verbal back and forth with Donald Trump. This has led some anchors on many of the conservative news stations to allege that LeBron James should, quote unquote, stick to basketball. Now, I'm on record as stating that far too much of an onus is placed on the opinions of athletes and that professional athletes are not leaders, but they do have the right to state their views. But seeing as you hold sway over millions of fans, you also should expect that many of these top news stations are going to give you some of the attention that you think you want, and they're going to do things to insult you. So to whom much is given, much is required. Once you step in the ring, you can't get frustrated when punches get thrown back.
You mentioned Muhammad Ali, which I thought was interesting, and you guys are talking about hate and criticism. We are at a watershed moment in this country.
Yeah, for sure.
I told you guys early last year when I started to make many of these videos about these woke athletes, they've turned Muhammad Ali into a patron saint for them, and they have no idea what Muhammad Ali was really about, what he stood for, or the movement that he associated himself with. Earlier in this interview, LeBron James states that Muhammad Ali went to jail for 3 years for coming against the U.S. government in defense of his quote-unquote religion. That is not true. Ali never went to jail for 3 years, and I'm not trying to quibble with LeBron. My point being is this. When you're someone of LeBron James' stature and you start speaking on historical figures, once you step outside those boundaries of speaking about sports, you better know what you're talking about. Once again, I'm not one of these guys that says an athlete does not have the right to speak his views or his perspectives on whatever. But when you're an athlete that is as pronounced and as elevated as a LeBron James, you better make sure that you're well versed in what you're talking about, because they are going to nitpick you. And it's no disrespect to LeBron James. He doesn't have the foggiest idea how America is run. Not the foggiest.
And we cannot deny that we are very divided, especially in the political arena.
Yeah, for sure.
Warriors said, if we had an invite, we're not going to the White House. LeBron.
Well, remember, the Warriors are a woke team. Their coach is woke. Their lead players are woke. All woke means is that you're a loudmouth trying to push every liberal agenda on the board. Meaning what? Quote unquote racial equality, which just equates to white man give me a hug, female supremacy, homosexual supremacy, etc. I've already gone into how Steve Kerr has ties to the CIA through his father, who they claim was just a teacher in the Middle East who got killed. It is what it is, whatever. Those of us who pay attention know that's the cover story. But when we go even further, Joe Lacob, the owner of the Golden State Warriors, is a homosexual, allegedly. So we know that any top brass in the NBA that are living those alternative lifestyles are not going to like Donald Trump, because of many of his reforms. And I'm already on record as stating, as a so-called black man, all these presidents are pretty much the same. They do not deviate from each other anywhere near as much as the media would like you to believe. They're all basically just secretaries of the sub-corporation known as the Corporation of the United States of America. Really, the Corporation of Homeland Security. Donald Trump has a job to do, which is to make sure that he can pay back the debt to the Federal Reserve as much as he can. It's the same debt that every other president has to be concerned with. And he will dispatch the U.S. military to try to get back the natural resources that he needs to appease the Federal Reserve, which is basically a collection agency for the international bankers. That's it. That's all it's about. All this other stuff is nonsense that they're talking about. And black people allow themselves to get caught up in all this emotional bullshit, all these mirages and smoke screens.
And you called the president a bum.
Yeah, straight up. Straight up.
How do you describe the climate for an athlete with a platform nowadays that want to talk about what's happening in our world?
Well, the climate is hot. The number one...
No, the climate is not hot. That's bullshit. The climate was hot back in the 60s. All right. That's back when the climate was hot. The climate was hot for Muhammad Ali. The climate was hot for John Carlos and so on and so forth. It was hot for those men. It's not hot for LeBron James. As a matter of fact, 90% of the liberal media have his back. ESPN will have his back. You're going to have the conservative news networks like Fox that will come against him. So no, the environment is not hot for LeBron James. He's not living in an atmosphere where he has to be scared to speak his mind. Most of the media outlets are going to have his back. They love this because it gives them more to talk about. So that's bullshit. And once again, his corporations, his sponsors like Nike are behind him. Why? Because they believe that Donald Trump is costing them money. That is why LeBron James was trying to assist Hillary Clinton in getting selected or elected to the White House. All right? There's no disrespect to LeBron. But when they say stick to basketball, the reason why they could tell him that is because he's not well versed in what he's talking about. He's emotional. And that's not really a surprise, because when you look at his background and the environment that he came from, it's not really a surprise that he's so damn emotional, because he doesn't really know what he's talking about.
Job in America, the point of person is someone who doesn't understand the people and really don't give a fuck about the people. When I was growing...
LeBron James, there's no disrespect, brother. Can you name a president that gave a fuck about the people? Do you think that Barack Obama gave a fuck about the people? Barack gave a fuck about homosexuals and lesbians, because he's a homosexual, allegedly. And his wife, who the hell knows what the hell Michael Obama is? Could be a man, could be a damn lesbian, could be an alien, could be a cyborg. Who the hell knows what Michelle, aka Michael Obama, is, allegedly? But we know for a fact that in LeBron James's lifetime, there has not been a president that was for the people. It's not the president's job really to be for the people. It's his job to make sure that America pays back as much of the debt as possible to the international bankers, and the president gets a cut. That's what you call Keynesian economics. That's what that's always been about. It's always been about the international bankers taking the president aside and saying, look, it's for your benefit that we have a debt-based, credit-based economic system, and we're going to give you a cut. All these presidents retire as billionaires. All of them. Okay? They all get taken care of for the rest of their life. There's none of them that's out there worried about you. All right? Especially as a so-called black man. If you're a so-called black man caught up in this political shit, you're a buffoon. Straight up and down. A lot of these pro-black dudes, oh man, yeah, LeBron's down for the call. Look, all you got, look, you dudes that's caught up in this political shit, you lost in the sauce, man. All right? You lost in the damn sauce. Once again, if you really was trying to change the American system, you'd be telling them to get rid of the Federal Reserve, which is not going to happen anyway.
There were like 3 jobs that you look for inspiration, or you felt like these were the people that could give me life. It was the President of the United States, it was whoever was the best at sports, and then it was like the greatest musician at the time.
Now listen to what LeBron said. He said there were 3 basic people of fame that he looked to quote unquote give him life. You know why he needed those three personages to give him life? Because he didn't have a dad. That's why I called the LeBron James story probably the greatest story in history. For someone to get to the level of prominence that he's in and come from where he came from, the brother deserves nothing but accolades. But his reach is not long enough for what he's trying to grasp a hold of. There's nothing against him. I give the brother all due honor and respect for what he's achieved. But he's not qualified to try to galvanize the people against this system, not because the system is correct, but because he's not informed enough to know how to attack the system, because he doesn't know what the system's real purpose is. It's nothing against the brother, all right? For his fanboys who are going to try to, you know, with their little low-level thinking, try to go back and forth. I don't have time for the dumb shit, all right? There have been no good presidents in LeBron James's life. So to try to say that Donald Trump is necessarily any worse or better than any of the other ones is foolishness. When LeBron James was born in, what, 84, 85, whenever year he was born, Ronald Reagan was president. Ronald Reagan was one of the worst men of the last 40 years. This man brought in Reaganomics. He introduced the crack epidemic. He really instituted heavily the prison industrial complex. You know, one of the great drug czars. For those of you who are interested or understand the MK Ultra program, heavily involved in sex slave trafficking, allegedly, presided over many snuff pornographic films, allegedly, heavily interested in bestiality, allegedly. All right, please, again, everything I'm saying is alleged, okay? All right, after that, it was George Bush Sr., CIA czar, one of the Svengalis who orchestrated the assassination on John F. Kennedy, allegedly. Drug runner, allegedly. Thief, liar, Luciferian. Member of Skull and Bones. A scion of the criminal Bush family that helped finance the Nazis, allegedly. Then you have William Jefferson Clinton, pansexual. Brought in the 3 strikes rule. Amplified the prison industrial complex, ran a cocaine cartel out of Arkansas. Like, who the fuck was you looking up to, LeBron? No disrespect, brother. No disrespect. The only difference between Donald Trump today and these presidents that LeBron is talking about he looked to for inspiration is that he knows more about the president now than he did back then because of how vast the media is. That's the only difference. And to be quite frank with you, I agree with many of the things that Donald Trump has done. He banned the transsexuals. He stopped allowing these whores to use their job to pay for their whore pills. I like some of the things he's done. If you don't like what I'm saying, you can kick rocks. All right? You can kick rocks. Look, man, I don't get caught up with these different personalities and these characters that they put forth on television. They put these people up. They put these people in front of the camera to get low-level people all excited. And there's no disrespect. The masses of people they consider low-level. They call them useless eaters. Okay? There are people like LeBron James out there who is boule. LeBron is boule. He has the boule sphinx tatted on his chest. Yes, he is boule. Right? His job is to act as an intermediary. And the chief athletes of LeBron James' time, Michael Jordan and Magic and Mike Tyson, all these guys, their job is to be minstrels, man. You're not supposed to look at them as leaders. Like when you become an adult, you know, like Paul said, you know, when I was a child, I thought as a child and I spake as a child. But when I became a man, I put away childish things. When you're a child, there are athletes that you like. When I was a child, Michael Jordan and Jerry Rice and Roy Jones, and you name it, Barry Bonds, Ken Griffey Jr. But when you become a grown man, you can respect a man for, number one, for his talent, but for perfecting his gifts. But when you become grown, you don't hold those people in that type of esteem anymore. And we have to stop promoting idolatry like that.
You never thought you could be them, but you can grab inspiration from. I feel like I can be You know, if it was a neighborhood African American cop and he was cool as hell, come around, you know, I feel like I could be him. It's easy to be. Yeah.
All that stuff is great, but what we have to start promoting, especially in so-called black community, is the father. All right, respecting the regular person, and to not put these athletes on a pedestal as leaders. You respect them for working hard at their craft and perfecting their gift. That's a great thing. That's not a good thing. That's a great thing. They provide entertainment for people. They could look at and say, wow, look at what this person can do. That's nice. But then the TV gets turned off and you have to address your real life and your real life situation. Your number one hero as a boy should be your father. Your number one hero should be your father. It's not supposed to be some basketball player on television.
I could be him, but I never felt I could be the president of the United States, but I grabbed inspiration from that. And this time right now, with the president of the United States, it's at a bad time. And while we cannot change...
There's no disrespect. I don't think that this society is at a bad time at all. When you look at what's going on economically, America is in a very good position economically. Okay? It's time for the black man to turn off the TV for a moment and focus on what he needs to do to make himself a better person and climb up out of that woke rabbit hole. Once again, if you hate this society so much, we could do two things. We can revolt or we could leave. But complaining and begging the Caucasian man for equality, I'm sorry, sir, that is not manhood. I don't respect that. I don't respect that.
What comes out of that man's mouth, we can continue to alert the people that watch us, that listen to us, as this is not the way.
When we're talking about leadership and what's going on in our country.
And brother, no disrespect, you don't know the foggiest thing about leadership, Kevin Durant. And you're another brother who, look, I give you credit. You came out of a single mother home, out of a rough environment, but by your own definition, you've never faced real hardship because from the time you was 11 or 12, you were highlighted as a potential pro. Nothing against you, but you're the last person that should be speaking on leadership. You have no leadership qualities whatsoever, brother. And it's no disrespect. You're a phenomenal athlete, a great basketball player, but you can't even lead on the basketball court. How the hell are you going to talk about leading in society? All right, I'm just being real. I know certain people might think that my statements are harsh. You have to make harsh appraisals when we're talking about real issues. And again, I'm not one of these people, oh, they shouldn't be talking. But once you start talking and you have the level of sway and influence that they have, you have to expect people to address your comments. Because if they're not informed, people are going to come and they're going to dissect your comments, as they should. Because if you're working for Fox News and you have a strongly conservative bent, and you see a LeBron James and a Kevin Durant, people with millions of followers on Twitter and Facebook and Snapchat, whatever the hell platforms they're on, you're going to say, if we leave these comments unchecked, they can affect and sway how people think.
It's all about leadership. And I learned that playing basketball. You know, I learned a lot of life skills from playing basketball. You need to empower.
Brother, look, I'm happy that you utilize your ability as a free agent to leave the team. But you look real silly talking about the leadership skills that you learned playing basketball. You just do. You haven't displayed the foggiest idea of how to lead on a basketball court. You really haven't. That's why you came to Golden State.
People, you need to, encourage people, and that's what builds a great team. And I feel like our team as a country is not ran by a great coach.
It's not even a surprise when he says something. It's not even a surprise. It's like laughable. It's like
it's laughable.
It's laughable and it's scary.
But it's also scary because it shouldn't be not.
No, you know what's laughable and scary, Kerry Champion? The fact that you can make money and take advantage of two affluent black men, so-called black men like LeBron James and Kevin Durant. You could drive them around and you can increase your profile, as you liberal black women always do. You always use the simple-minded black man to increase your profile, because that's the main way that you're going to get your profile increased, is when the black man helps you. But then Kerry Champion can come behind the so-called black man's back, just like her friend Jamel Hill, and state that she prefers to date white men because it's easier to date white men than it is black men. That's what she said. All right, brothers, that's what Kerry Champion said. Just like Jamel Hill talked all that pro-blackity black shit and came back and said that black men are the white people of black people. Or I should say she co-signed that statement. So basically she said it because she co-signed it. Carrie Champion is the same person who tried to rake Floyd Mayweather over the coals when he was on their show back when he visited the Sports Center set. Carrie Champion teamed up with her Caucasian male co-star David Lloyd, I believe his name is, and they tried to rake Floyd Mayweather over the coals for domestic violence shit that had happened 7 years before.
Floyd Mayweather refuses to acknowledge the fact that he put his hands on a woman. He's an undefeated champion and a woman beater. And I'll say it again. He's an undefeated champion and a woman beater.
Your career, your professional career, there was a lot of talk about the documented history of domestic violence. You never really addressed it. Do you have anything to say about it now?
Well, you know, that was in my past. And of course, with any situation, when someone talks about domestic violence, I think with a fighter that like myself, when they say that Floyd was involved in domestic violence, restraining someone, yes, I did that. I'm guilty of restraining. As far as stomp, kick, and beating a woman, I think that the world would see photos. But you must realize this. For so many years, they try to defeat me in so many different ways. As far as negative things. But I couldn't be defeated inside the ring, so they try to defeat me on the outside. Do I think, did people want to see me fail? Absolutely. But I beat all odds. I was meant to be where I'm at today. I was meant to go through the different obstacles that I went through, and I wouldn't change my life for nothing.
Okay, so in 2011, you spent 60 days in jail for, I guess, a misdemeanor.
Yes.
And it was alleged that that's when you hit another woman. Can you talk to me about your fans, your female fans who still enjoy you as a boxer, but they're having a hard time knowing the person outside of the ring? Do you have anything to say to them?
What I said to everybody at home, I'm not perfect, never claimed to be perfect. I've been through certain obstacles in my life, and when it's all said and done, only God can judge me. Like I said before, I'm still waiting, like hopefully like yourself. I'm waiting to see photos. I'm a major figure, so when something happens in my home, the world knows about it. Domestic violence could have happened in your home or with you and your boyfriend, but the world just don't know about it.
What do you regret, Floyd, about your behavior over the years?
I don't regret anything. You know, when it's all said and done, I know who I am as a person. I'm a great father. I'm a great man. I've been through obstacles. I've been through ups. I've been through downs in my life, and I'm not perfect. But I strive every day to become a better person. I'm a more positive person, and that's what it's all about. Nobody knows what you and your girlfriend has been through or what you and your wife has been through because you're not a major figure. Now, no different from Tiger Woods or any other figure that's huge. If an argument goes on in someone's home, it's going to get over-exaggerated. And you guys must realize this. I'm a fighter. So anytime the police is called about someone a dispute, they're going to say domestic violence anyway, because when a cop is called to someone's home, that's considered domestic violence. So at the end of the day,
but there are a lot of fighters who aren't having the police brought to their homes, right? It's not like it happens with everybody.
I'm saying, but how do you, if you're not, I mean, I don't think you're studying it, every fighter. I don't think so. I mean, I think you're I mean, this is, of course, ESPN is all about sports. So you guys check out, I mean, all type of sports. And I think domestic violence goes on every day. Do I approve of it? Absolutely not. But I'm not here to judge anyone. And people can judge me because when it's all said and done, only God can judge me.
It's very fair of you to say domestic violence happens every day. It happens with other athletes. You are probably one of the few athletes.
But I'm not. I didn't say what I said. Just in homes, period.
Homes, period. But we're talking sports. You are arguably one of the few athletes that doesn't necessarily have to deal with the wrath of that once it's all said and done. You've been able to be above it in terms of the press.
Well, you know what's crazy? Before I came, my publicist, Kelly Swanson, said, she wanted to, you wanted to ask me about domestic violence before I got on here. I said, I don't shy away from anything because I'm not like that. Because when it's all said and done, I don't pay your bills in your home. You don't pay my bills in my home. I have to live my life the way I want to live my life. I've made mistakes in my life. And I'm a stronger person because of the things that I've been through. So, you know, you live and you learn.
Yeah.
I love my life. I'm a great person. And it's all about being positive. And I think with us being on ESPN, I think that, I mean, I don't mind talking about it, but I would prefer to talk about things that I've done, things that I gave back, like how I fed the American citizen, how I fed the American citizens for so many years. We don't talk about that, or how we feed the homeless on a regular. We never talk about that. But every time it's Floyd Mayweather, they tend to put a battery in people's back for them to talk about the negative things, but they never talk about the positive things that I do. And what I do know, I'm gonna let the world know this: my good outweighs my bad.
I know that most recently you extended some words of encouragement to Ronda Rousey.
Yes.
Why'd you decide to do that?
I've never had anything against Ronda Rousey. Like I said before, let people put batteries in their back and pump them up to say certain things about me.
First to present you, on behalf of ESPN, the ESPY for Best Fighter. You beat out Floyd Mayweather, and you should have.
Yeah.
You beat out Floyd Mayweather, and you should have.
Yeah.
You beat out Floyd Mayweather, and you should have.
Yeah. Wow, you are the best fighter. Wow, you are the best fighter. Wow, you are the best fighter.
Amanda Nunes. Big combination. It's over.
I wonder how Floyd feels being beat by a woman for once.
Wow.
I like to see it pretend to not know who I am now.
Wow.
People are judging me because I was very outspoken in my boxing career.
But meanwhile, Kerry Champion had been harassed, cyberstalked by an associate of Howard Stern's named Artie Lang, who told her that he wanted to act out a slave sex fantasy with her. She never responded. She didn't make an official statement stating that she rejected his sentiment that black women have been disrespected by Caucasian men like this for years. She never said none of that publicly. But when Floyd Mayweather came on SportsCenter, she was drilling him about so-called domestic violence shit from years ago. And now she's jumping on the liberal bandwagon to use LeBron James' simple ass and Kevin Durant's even simpler ass to try to jump down the woke rabbit hole. You see what I'm talking about, brothers, when I talk about this bullshit?
To your racist comments.
Right.
I shouldn't be numb to your behavior when I hear people talk
Well, you know what? I shouldn't be numb to them bad weaves you wear, but I'm numb to it.
about black men with money. They think that that privilege makes you numb to the experience and that you don't know what it means. I don't care how much money you have, you're still a black man and you understand the plight.
Look at her patronizing and pandering to these two fools. You know why? You know why the liberal black woman knows that she could do this, brothers? Because she knows that a lot of these pro-black men, they love the idea of unity with the so-called black woman. Like these, you got these liberal black women, they run all over the internet talking about where are our brothers and all this other shit. You know what that spells out to me when I see those type of comments? This is a broad who can't keep a man and save her fucking life. Now she wants to jump on the internet and complain about how come she can't keep a man. Because believe me, if you were a good person, you would have a man. You know why you don't have a man? Because you're a piece of shit. I've said that before, and it's no, I don't say it to be disrespectful. Because you have a lot of men that are a piece of shit too. They don't know how to conduct themselves appropriately. They don't understand loyalty and moderation and respect for themselves and for others, things of that nature. So to make a long story short, the pro-black thing is a big hustle because you have a lot of black men trying to use the pro-black thing so that they can become a professional side dude. Like the black woman is God niggas. Why are they doing that? Because they want to be professional side dudes to all these silly, simple-minded black women. Some of them have a man already, some of them don't. It doesn't matter to the black woman is God, guys, because they want to be a side nigga to about 5 broads. When if we had an actual culture, every so-called black man could have 4, 5, 6 wives. That's how it's supposed to be. That's how it's supposed to be if you had a strong culture. Now, in the deculturalized environment that we live in, you're lucky if you find one woman who's good enough to be a wife who can understand and comprehend order. I just noticed little things like that. Miss Carrie Champion trying to patronize these two guys sitting in the back. And by the way, for the people who claim that when black men get famous, they give a white woman, LeBron James is probably the most famous black athlete in the world. He's married to a black woman. All right. That's what I know. As I've stated, probably 60-70% of famous black men are married to black women. When you look at the famous black women, and this goes back all the way to people like Josephine Baker and Lena Horne and Diane Carroll, what's her name? Diana Ross. All these broads, white men, white men, white men, white men. Okay? That's how it's always been. That shit about the black man getting famous and hunting after white women, that was put forth by the white man's media in the 40s because he got scared about the so-called black man running through his women once he got a little fame. That's where that sentiment comes from. Now, do you see black men dealing with non-black women more or at a higher level once they get a level of fame? Of course, because the pool gets larger. The pool of women that approach the black man will get larger. But seeing as the pool of women is so large, still, the so-called black man has a propensity to deal with the so-called black female. And looking at the average so-called black female's conduct, she should count herself lucky. Okay? I know certain people are not going to like that. I don't give a shit. Oh, well. I said that a long time ago, one of my first videos. Nobody treats their female better in context with her conduct than the so-called black man does. People might get mad at that, act shocked. How could you say that, please? When you look at how these other women of the other races, especially outside of America, are treated, you got women in the Middle East getting their heads chopped off for looking at another man. Go read about what happens when one of these females in Iran or Iraq or Saudi Arabia decide, or India, decide that they're not going to marry the man that their parents told them to marry. They get acid thrown in their face. They get stoned. Meanwhile, you got bros running around out here with 5 niggas talking about, I don't know who the daddy is. Get the hell out of here.
I'm a black man with a bunch of money and having a crib in Brentwood and having the word nigger spray painted over my gate.
Yeah, LeBron, how's that case going, brother? Speaking of that, you still haven't found the perpetrator yet? You mean tell me you live in Brentwood in a gated community, every house on the block has a security camera, and you haven't found a person that spray painted nigga on your front gate? So we almost a year after the fact, and they haven't found the person, and you got no leads, no clues, no nothing, huh? And you still pushing that lie. Look, brothers, this dude LeBron James he's way down in the woke rabbit hole. And I saw somebody ask me on the Michael Smith, Jamel Hill video that I did, what is a rabbit hole? And one of the brothers answered very, very well. Let me just say this. All a rabbit hole is a portal. It's a portal from the Matrix into the real world. Okay? Or from the real world into a world of your own making. That's what a rabbit hole is. Like if you ever watch Alice in Wonderland. When she first how did she first get to Wonderland? She had to follow the white rabbit, right? She had to go down the rabbit hole. For you brothers who understand what you're watching, when you watch the film 8 Mile with the MK asset known as Eminem, what did they name him? B Rabbit, right? Because he was the white boy. He was going to lead hip hop down the rabbit hole. From the time that he came into hip hop, he was sent there to cause chaos and bring confusion. They utilized that other asset, Dr. Dre. Okay, that's all a rabbit hole is. So like for another example, when you watch The Wizard of Oz, how did Dorothy get from the black and white world to the world of color? Oz, she got stuck in the vortex, which is what the tornado symbolized. Took her from one world to the other world. The white rabbit is a symbol of going from one world to another world. Like they had, what's this guy's name? Jake Gyllenhaal. who's also a monarch child, how did he come to fame? In a film called Donnie Darko, where he was seeing an imaginary rabbit. That rabbit was representative of the creature that would take him to another world. That was a manifestation. That was his E.T. Another example, the film The Matrix with Neo. He had to go down the rabbit hole after he took the red pill. This is why you have the cereal, right? What they call tricks. The term tricks is an abbreviation of the Matrix. When you become grown, you have to leave the Matrix and come into the real world. The Matrix is the play world. That's why they abbreviated it to tricks. They say tricks are for kids. And what's the symbol of tricks? The white rabbit. So LeBron James is stuck in the woke rabbit hole. He's stuck in the woke matrix. He's all the way through the damn hole. He's in the matrix now. He's just caught up in there, and he's desperate to get attention from Donald Trump. Whether he's going to get it or not, who the hell knows?
That lets you know I ain't too far removed, and I still got a lot more work to do. And no matter how far money or access or how you become in life as an African American man, female, they will always try to figure out a way to let you know that you still beneath them. And
brothers, you see what he did there? And this is a technique that the liberal blacks like to use. I tell you about it all the time. They love to associate the plight of the so-called black man with the woman. They love to do that. They always do that. The liberal black man will always try to align himself with the woman. I'm surprised he didn't include homosexuals. Right? I did a series of videos in the past where I highlighted how Shannon Sharp incessantly tries to group the females and the homosexuals in with the plight of the so-called black man. Why is that? Because they are boule. They are the intermediary between the black masses and the white elite. Their job is to keep you off balance. Their goal is to get an even bigger hug. As part of the black boule, they're already getting hugs. LeBron James is confused. Like I said, the brother does a lot for his community. That's great. He's got a great story. But he's confused. I've already mentioned in the past, he may be a monarch athlete. The term chosen one, for those of you who don't know, the term chosen one is a term that is used for MK Ultra assets, the higher level ones.
And it's either one or two things at that point. You either cave into that notion or you just chalk it up and say, you know what? I'm going to paint over this goddamn gate and I'm going to make it taller. Yeah.
So where we...
Brother, give me a break. Ain't nobody spray painting your damn gate. Just stop lying so damn much. All right? Just knock it off. But let me rewind back to the part that I wanted to highlight here.
We cannot deny that we are very divided, especially in the political arena.
Yeah, for sure.
Warriors said, if we had an invite, we're not going to the White House. LeBron, you called the president a bum.
Yeah, straight up. Straight up.
How do you describe the climate for an athlete with a platform nowadays that want to talk about what's happening in our world?
Well, the climate...
Also, please notice Carrie Champion wearing the faux leopard print also. No. Is she a MK sex kitten? Who knows? Who knows? I'm sure there's certain people out there who say she's a tranny. If she was a tranny, it would not absolutely shock me, okay? But I'm not one of these people that everybody in the industry is a tranny. But it wouldn't shock me. Who the hell knows? I've seen cats say that Jemele Hill's a tranny. One thing I do know about Jemele Hill is that she comes out of Michigan State. And as I mentioned in another video, Michigan State has very, very close ties to the CIA. They ran a project in the 60s known as the Vietnam Project, in which Michigan State was used as a cover for their training a lot of operatives that were dispatched over to Vietnam. Well, let's get back to LeBron here.
Todd, the number one job in America, the point of person, is someone who doesn't understand the people and really don't give a fuck about the people. When I was growing up, there were like 3 jobs.
Now, you see what he does here? And they changed the camera angle. But he throws his left hand up in the OK sign, the mudra, which is a 666 sign, for those of you who don't know. And let me say this, and I'll probably do a video on this very soon. I get a lot of these pro-black people who come on my videos talking about 666 is for 6 protons, 6 neutrons, and 6 electrons. It's for melanin. No. 666 is for carbon. And carbon and melanin are not equivalent. Melanin is a compound. Carbon is an element. All right? This is what I call nigger nonsense or niggerology. It's just black people making shit up and trying to figure out a reason to worship skin color. Don't get me wrong. The component of carbon is essential to life. And yes, our people are more lively because of the higher content of carbon that we have. But no, 666 is not, in the scriptures, does not have anything to do with melanin. Okay? It's talking about Saturn, aka Molech, aka Baal, right? Chronos. That is who you fed your child to. That is the beast. That is the quote unquote antichrist, or the left-handed Christ, the Christ on the left hand. When you read the scriptures, the Most High always tells you that Christ is on his right hand. He says, sit down on my right hand until I make thine enemies thy footstool. Baal, Molech, Saturn, that is the number for 666. 666 is Saturn, or Latinos, the hidden one. It has nothing to do with no damn 6 protons, 6 neutrons, 6 electrons. Now, was LeBron holding up this 666 for this long on purpose? Who knows? It's very common for that to happen. For those of you who follow Bill Maher's show, way back when they had he had Mos Def on his show. Mos Def started going off about the attack on the Twin Towers. And as Mos Def was going off talking about how it was an inside job, Bill Maher kept throwing up the satanic hand signs. He was throwing up the moniker neutral, and I believe he threw up the 666 to tell the viewers, those in the know, that he had everything under control. That's why they had Bill Maher do that religious nonsense, and I'll probably be doing a series on that very soon. His job is to promote chaos. He's a venerator. He's a worshiper of Pan and Bacchus, like all of them. But let's get back to LeBron here.
That you look for inspiration, or you feel like these were the people that can get.
You see how long he held up that 666 with his left hand? And as soon as he put it down, they changed the camera angle again. Let me go back again.
Job in America, the point of person is someone who doesn't understand the people and really don't give a fuck about the people. When I was growing up, there were like 3 jobs that you look for inspiration, or you feel like these were the people that can give me life.
You see how they changed the camera angle when he was throwing up the 666 with the left hand? As soon as he took it down, they switched it back. That's why the scriptures tell you in Ephesians, the 5th chapter, in the 12th verse, it says that it's a shame to speak of the things done of them in secret. Starting at verse 11, Ephesians chapter 5, verse 11, it says, have no fellowship with the unfruitful works of darkness, but rather reprove them. For it is a shame to speak of the things done of them in secret. A lot of these top athletes are actors, or under the programming, or both, assets. If this man going to sit here and still perpetuate that lie about his front gates getting sprayed with the word nigger, what else is he going to lie about that much? Because I don't care what nobody say. You're not going to tell me that that man's front gate got spray painted with the word nigger and they still have not made any arrests. That is bullshit. Every house in that neighborhood probably has damn 5 cameras around it. And then they changed the angle after he's talking about Trump and he's throwing up the 666 with his left hand. What they call the mujra, right, which is basically just a phallic symbol. It is what it is. Point being is this. LeBron James is looking to initiate a back and forth with Trump. Who knows? He's most likely jealous that Trump is giving everybody else attention except him. He's co-signing Hillary Clinton, who was a liar, a thief, and a sex trafficker. But he wants to talk about how Donald Trump is separating everybody. And it's nothing against Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant should need to sit his bony ass down. I don't want to hear what he got to say about leadership. The brother couldn't lead flies to shit. Great basketball player, though. All right. Once again, they have the right to speak their minds, and they have to expect people to scrutinize their statements.
SportsCenter right, now, for the first time, thanks to the NBA All-Star Game's new format, LeBron James and Kevin Durant will be teammates. But before this weekend, back on January 14th, James and Durant spoke with our SportsCenter anchor, Carrie Champion, about life, family, and the current political climate. And in the interview, both NBA stars were critical of the president. Kevin Durant went on to say, "It's all about leadership. I learned that playing basketball. I learned a lot of life skills from playing basketball. You need to empower people. You need to encourage people. That's what builds a great team." And
I still can't believe that Kevin Durant had the nerve to talk about leadership. I'm flabbergasted by that. It just shows you how much he lacks self-awareness.
I feel like our team as a country is not run by a great coach.
These guys are so caught up in their feelings. This is why they're not fit to be leaders. A great leader cannot get caught up in the feelings of others. When you're operating on a macrocosmic level, you cannot worry about the quibbles of ants. No disrespect. No disrespect. But you cannot worry about the quibbles of ants when you're trying to operate on a macrocosmic level and do what's best for all financially. By no means am I saying that Donald Trump is a great president or a good president or a bad president. I'm not speaking on his presidency. But pertaining to the contentions of a Kevin Durant and a LeBron James, they lose validity and any type of credibility with me when their contentions are all based in their personal feelings and emotions. When I hear someone talk about a president and state that they don't like the job he's doing, then you have to point to something economically. You have to point to something strategically or logistically, not emotionally. I'm not concerned about how he's quote unquote separating the country or dividing the country. Those are the ramblings of a Negro that wants a hug. Sorry, sir.
Coach. Now let's get it back to First Take.
Great job by Carrie and the guys there. So our president doesn't understand the people. He's not a good leader, a good coach. Talk to me, Stephen A.
Well, first of all, I want to applaud both LeBron James and Kevin Durant for doing.
And I mean, shit, just going by what Kevin Durant says, then Donald Trump must have something in common with Kevin Durant's old coach in Oklahoma City, because he said a lot of the same things about him. As a matter of fact, Kevin Durant trashed most of his former teammates on OKC. So maybe he's not quite the leader that he's trying to make himself out to be.
Doing that interview. And most important, and just as equally important, is giving it to Carrie Champion. It was nice to see LeBron James sitting there with her and talking to her.
That was another shot at LeBron James. As I've told you guys before, the reason why Stephen A. Smith is coming down so hard on LeBron is because LeBron will not give him a sit-down interview. That's all it's about with Stephen A. Smith. You see, he stated it's nice that they sat down with Carrie Champion, especially LeBron James. Basically, he's trying to accuse LeBron of only wanting to do sit-down interviews with non-blacks. The black pundits in the media, they love to pull the color card whenever they're not getting the access that they feel like they deserve. Stephen A. Smith spends most of his time during the weekday slamming many of these young black athletes, and then he gets quizzical when they don't want to do sit-down interviews with him. He calls them all type of names and claiming that they're not competitive, that they lack heart, and then he's wondering why they don't want to speak to him. Sorry, sir, you're not a media member anymore. You're no longer a journalist. Now you're basically a commentator. It's a big difference. When you're a commentator, you cannot marvel. When you speak your mind, you speak what you feel like the truth is, or you speak your perspective, and you alienate people from you. That's a part of life. The truth separates people. It does not bring them together.
And she did a great job. Let me be very, very clear. When you think about what LeBron James and Kevin Durant articulated, they could not have put it better.
Well, they could not have put it better from their woke perspective. Yes. If you're a two-dimensional thinker and you're woke, then you love what LeBron James and Kevin Durant said. They sat in the car. They called Donald Trump a bum. They said that he's not a good coach for America, that he's not bringing people together. Normal, basic, low-level shit. No disrespect.
I'm really not here to add to what they said, because I think where they said, what they said, where they left it at, is where, as a nation, we should pause.
No, the nation is not going to pause at the words of LeBron James and Kevin Durant about Donald Trump. Nothing against them, but they're just two brothers with an opinion. They happen to be on television a lot because they're tall and they could jump high.
They are not talking about politics. They are not talking about policies that are being in the process of being implemented or may have already been implemented on Capitol Hill.
Well, that's your claim. I don't see that. I believe that they are talking about politics and policies because Trump's politics and policies are associated with his perceived lack of decorum. Whether it be his statement that he's going to put up a wall to stop illegals from coming into America, that's part of the anger, the vitriol from the liberals in regards to Trump separating people, quote unquote, or no, not living up to the ideals of America, allegedly. You know, since I've been a child, the president has talked about illegal immigration. Since I've been a child. That shows you that all the times that Reagan and Bush and Clinton and Bush Jr. and Obama were talking about the illegals, they were full of shit. Because now that you finally have a president that's talking about illegal immigration and actually decided to try to fulfill one of his talking points, he's supposed to be a hate monger. I don't get involved in it one way or the other. That's not my issue. It's just interesting to me that when a person decides that they're going to do what they claim they're going to do, if a person said, I'm going to kill 15 people, and they go out there and do it, you should have taken them seriously. If you didn't take them seriously, that means that you expect people to lie to you. So all the time that these other presidents talked about the problems with immigration, you didn't take them seriously because you expected them to lie. What does that say about the office of president and how it's perceived? I think people's real shock is that this man made so many quote unquote outlandish statements and promises, and he's actually trying to fulfill them.
They are not talking about Republican or Democrat. They are talking about an individual. And what they're doing along the way, whether tacitly, directly, or otherwise, is reminding us of as a nation what standard we were taught the highest office in the land was supposed to hold. You know, this is the kind of thing when Max is going off, or I'm saying what I'm saying, or...
And both of you combined, what you have to say amounts to absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. The office of president is a corporate title. It's not a title of rulership. It's not even a position that is supposed to inspire, in my view. Many of you out there might work at a corporation. Does the president of your job inspire you? I don't think so. You give them their due honor and respect when you see them. The honor and respect that you give them is that you're doing your job. You're not hurt per se if you receive a memo or email stating that this person is going to step down or retire, or that they're getting relieved of their duties. You go about your business. It's the same with the president of the United States, who's pretty much been a figurehead for a long time now. The president of the United States really has been a figurehead since the mid 1800s, if we're going to go there. Certainly the early 1900s.
Others, people want to get lost. And one of the things that I'm not going to allow to happen, I'm not going to allow people who support the president or the president himself to hijack the issue of what LeBron and Kevin Durant was alluding to.
There's nothing to hijack because they didn't say anything. So there's nothing to hijack. All they did was call him a bum. They didn't say, here's what we'd like him to do differently. And once again, LeBron James is a supporter of Hillary Rodham Clinton, the same female who said that young black males are super predators. LeBron is guilty of being woefully uninformed.
The way that he hijacked the Colin Kaepernick issue, okay?
He didn't hijack the Colin Kaepernick issue. He forced the NFL owners to make a decision. They were pussyfooting around, and he put his foot down in regards to that issue. He made them make a decision because Donald Trump implored his number one demographic, that being conservative Caucasians from middle America, to basically extort the NFL by telling them, if you don't do something about these kneeling niggas, we're not going to watch the game and it's going to cost you your money. That's what he did. And I told you guys that from when he first did what he did.
Okay, that issue was not about the flag. It was about a host of things, mainly law enforcement relations with minority communities. And
these niggas still don't get it. They still don't get it. You can't say that the protest was not about the flag when people were getting on their knees when the flag was revealed or when it was exalted during the national anthem. So yes, it was about the flag and it was about the national anthem. So-called black people love to tell Caucasians that they don't have the right to tell black people what they should be offended by. And as usual, like the bad girlfriend that liberal blacks in America are, they love to do things to their spouse that they don't want to have done to them. This is why I compare the rapport and the relationship between white and black in America to a dysfunctional relationship between a man and a woman, with the so-called black people playing the female. They love to throw tantrums. They say that they're getting abused in their relationship, but they won't leave because they're scared that they're not going to be able to find a significant other that will provide for them the way that they feel like this current significant other provides for them, and they're scared to go out on their own. And they keep trying to change the narrative. Sorry, but that protest was about, or partly about, the American flag and the national anthem, period.
Things of that nature. But that's neither here nor there. The point is that what you're talking about is a man who happens to hold the highest office in the land, who is the leader of the free world.
Allegedly. I don't even know what that means. The leader of the free world. Like, what does that really mean to you? If the world was free, you'd be able to own land without going through a bunch of red tape and rigmarole. You wouldn't have a social security number. You wouldn't have a birth certificate number. Like, no, sir. I don't know if you understand this system.
That has given a large segment of our populace the impression that what matters to you doesn't necessarily matter to him.
I have a hard time believing Stephen A's sentiment that a large segment of the population has beliefs and worries that don't vibe with the president, especially since he's in office. So clearly his message was resonating with a very large portion of the American population.
By virtue of rhetoric he's tacitly endorsed, rhetoric he's espoused out of his own mouth, or the level of insensitivity that he has exhibited. LeBron James and Kevin Durant at no time mentioned policy, at no time mentioned politics.
Because they're not informed or educated enough to speak on those things, Stephen A. I mean, it's no disrespect to either one of these two brothers, but are they watching MSNBC and CNN? No. They're watching ESPN. They're watching Colin Kaepernick get down on one knee. They're watching you guys talk about all that shit. Neither one of them dudes are sitting back watching CNN. It's no disrespect. I know people say, how do you know that? Ain't no, neither one of them niggas watching CNN. Just knock it off.
What they said is, you, that specific individual, is in office conducting himself in a way this nation taught us should never be tolerated.
That's interesting. Has this nation ever taught us that the people on TV are actually about what they talk about? Or has this nation taught us that politicians get on television and say what they want to say in order to get what they want from you, and then do what they really want behind closed doors? Once again, the true reason why people are so incensed about Donald Trump is that he actually is about what he states. And he makes a lot of statements that people are offended by because people like to be lied to. They like to be told that you're patting them on the back when in reality you're trying to rub a poison into their spine. But they don't care as long as you tell them nice things. There's very, very unfortunate aspect of America that people like to be lied to. And that is why people have so much trouble in interpersonal relationships, because everybody just wants to lie and see who they can get over on and troll and so on and so forth.
Yet you put him in office, and you don't seem to mind how he has acted in the year plus that he's been in office.
Stephen A. Smith is so full of shit. I'll bet money that he voted for Donald Trump.
But you're going to look at a 20-year-old or a 25-year-old or a 28-year-old, or in LeBron's case, a 33-year-old, and you want to hold them accountable for every little thing they say and do and how they behave.
Well, that happens because this is not our kingdom. We got to get our own, brother. We got to get our own. But once again, liberal blacks are more concerned with gaining credibility and validity and acceptance from the Caucasian than they are from each other. One of the things that I do agree with LeBron on in that interview is when he stated that so-called black people do not want to see other so-called black people excel. And let me specify, there's a good amount. I think that so-called black people, they get a bad rap sometimes about not wanting to see each other succeed. A lot of it is based in the fact that the average so-called black person is extremely talented and very gifted. So unlike in other race groups where they see a certain member of theirs excel and they say, wow, that person can do something that I know I can't do. Amongst so-called black people, is pretty much the sentiment that they feel like they could do what this other person is doing because our people are extremely talented. But there is a sizable demographic of our people that don't know how to be happy for someone who's doing well, for someone who's happy, for someone who's excelling. So I do agree with that. But there's also a portion that know how to congratulate, but it's all based on what you're doing with your life. Are you trying to sharpen your tools? Are you trying to refine your gifts? Or are you more worried about what the next person is doing or not doing?
But a 71-year-old man or older who happens to be our commander-in-chief, no accountability in that regard. It's problematic, and they highlighted it, and I applaud them for doing so.
I believe that Trump has been held accountable numerous times. It's just that they have not found anything to stick on him yet. To be quite frank with you, a lot of the borderline harassment that the liberal media has done towards him has only made his name bigger. He's damn near become like the white version of Tupac. The more you come at him and he gets away with it, or you're unable to pin anything on him, the bigger he becomes. Because it's very obvious that the liberal media is attacking him because he will not conform.
What LeBron and KD are talking about is corruption. And let me be very clear about what I mean by this. First, there is, like they say that right now the team doesn't have a coach. Yeah. What is that? Well, I mean, listen, this coach, if he were a college basketball coach, would be under NCAA investigation, the metaphor right now, because there's an ongoing investigation, for the biggest infraction in the history of college basketball, right?
Oh, it's normal liberal hyperbole, a bunch of bullshit. These people are so incensed about Donald Trump being in the White House. Once again, that is what gives him much of his appeal. Donald Trump's potential criminality pales in comparison to the criminality of Ronald Reagan and George Bush and William Jefferson Clinton. Believe me, those guys were billion-dollar drug dealers. Billion-dollar drug dealers, those three guys. And in regards to Barack Obama, that dude was putting hits on people in Chicago, allegedly, particularly the ones who know about his quote-unquote secret as a homosexual.
All right, like this, what's going on now, collusion with a hostile foreign power, is incredibly important and scandalous and serious, and that's ongoing. But that's not the corruption they're referring to, guy. Yeah, collusion with a hostile foreign power. Okay. Yes, because there were certain factions of the Russian media that were espousing for Trump. But you know what's funny? There were certain factions of the French and the British media that were trying to promote Hillary Clinton. Has she won, would they have accused collusion with those countries? Two guys. The corruption they're referring to is a moral corruption, is a corrosion of the moral leadership that the President of the United States is supposed to show.
Well, then you know what? They should have fired the leader of ESPN a long time ago after you guys tried to promote Michael Sam and Caitlyn Jenner as heroes, because that is a corruption of moral leadership and of morality.
Now, there's something called a bully pulpit, and that's one of the most important components of the presidency of the United States, that they have what's called a bully pulpit. It means a position, a platform, a conspicuous position that allows you to speak and influence people.
Yes, much like yours, sir.
And from that position, it is true others in our past have, in that position, have dog whistled to racists, have sown division for political gain. That has happened before, but never as overtly as this.
No, sir. As a matter of fact, I believe that Trump is probably one of the lesser racists if you understand the history of America. When you talk about certain presidents who've had the Ku Klux Klan come to the White House, you've had presidents like Ronald Reagan, who was closely affiliated with and associated with the Nazis, as was George Bush. William Jefferson Clinton, who, like I stated, was running a cocaine business through Arkansas. I mean, the list goes on and on.
And there are many people who have come in from the margins in American life, minority groups, who are excluded from mainstream American life for years.
And still are.
Where right now feel as though the advances that were made are under attack. Because there is...
Yes, the liberal blacks feel that way because they thought that they were getting closer to that hug. I've noted that already on this channel. That's really what the liberal blacks are upset about in regards to Donald Trump. They thought that they were getting closer to being able to hug you, Max Kellerman. And when Donald Trump came into the White House, they said, oh no, now we're going back to the days of Woodrow Wilson, when he was inviting the Klan to rally at the White House. That's what they're mad about.
Is kind of blatant signaling to others, really the white mainstream, how else can you phrase it, that it's okay. That it's okay to, that there's a permissive kind of atmosphere that makes people feel unsafe. Others from minority groups feel unsafe.
Good, good. That means that it's forcing Negroes to face the truth. Good. When somebody gives you permission to be who you are, all they're doing is doing you a favor. They're performing a favor for the so-called black community. If President Trump tells certain Caucasians, demographics of affluent Caucasians or even lesser Caucasians, I give you permission to be who you are, and they reveal themselves to be quote unquote racist, they're doing you a favor because that would have came out anyway. It just would have came out down the line. I don't like to be in an environment of hypocrisy. I don't need anyone to lie to me. That's an insult to your intelligence when people lie to you. They're telling you that you're not strong enough or intelligent enough to deal with the truth.
And I think they are expressing that feeling, that there's been a corrosion in terms of the moral authority of the bully pulpit, that it's being used at cross purposes.
The other thing that we can't ignore.
Well, first off, let me say this. Trump understands who his constituency is very well. He knows that there's a large portion of America who has felt disenfranchised the previous 8 years under Barack Obama, that there was a large portion of conservative Caucasians who felt like their wants, their desires were unheard, unmet. And that's what we spoke towards, and that's what we should speak towards. When Barack Obama was running for president, he spoke towards the so-called black man and black woman who felt disenfranchised. You're always going to speak to who you feel like is going to vibe with you and who is going to resonate, or who your message is going to resonate towards. That's natural. Look, I'm not an insecure person, so I don't worry about Donald Trump's message towards conservative whites. That's not for me. I don't care. They can have a nice day. So-called black people need to be concerned about being galvanized by each other, not by what the quote-unquote mainstream is going to say or what they think about them.
And they didn't use the words, but I'll use it for them. There's a fear factor in all of this.
Of course there is. All you liberal blacks are fearful that you're not going to get that hug.
And the reason why there's a fear factor in all of this is because we're supposed to have standards. I'm not going to sit up there and excoriate the president of the United States to the degree that other people are doing it, because I'm just not going to use this platform to do it. But
No, not only are you not going to use the platform to do it, but you also don't feel impassioned enough to excoriate him to the degree, because off camera, being the low-level economist that you are, you understand that he's done good things for America in regards to the flow of currency. You know that, Stephen A. Smith. By your own admission, economically you're conservative. And I'm sure that you voted for Donald Trump. I'm sure that you did not vote for Hillary Rodham Clinton. You can stay on TV and talk all the shit you want to talk.
But it is important to recognize the fact that when you conduct yourself and you seem to be oblivious or disinterested in upholding and uplifting standards.
Well, I'm not sure what standards he's not upholding or uplifting, unless you're talking about the inclusion of homosexuals and transgenders. If you're talking about so-called illegal aliens, look, that's not my fight. I don't get involved with the DACA stuff, but let's be very clear, as Stephen A. would say. The real reason why Donald Trump is under such heavy fire in regards to the illegal immigration is because most of these corporations are powered by illegal immigrants and their labor. They provide a proverbial slave labor force. When you can bring a Mexican in or someone who has snuck over the border and pay them $4 or $5 an hour, $6 an hour, and they're doing twice the work of a Caucasian or a so-called black person that you would hire here in America. Twice the work, and they're working double the time. Do you know how that reflects in your bottom line? I mean, it's unbelievable the effect that having that type of labor force has. So of course the corporations are going to plant news stories that state that Donald Trump is a racist and he's terrible for not allowing illegals into the country. They should. It's fucking with their money.
Yet you get over 62 million votes. It's not just about that individual who's in office. It's about the millions upon millions of people who support not just putting him in office, but seem to turn a blind eye and a deaf ear to the behavioral aspect of things.
Because most of it is petty. Like this new shit about him sleeping with a porn star. Who gives a shit? Yes, he slept with a porn star. A lot of these females in America are porn stars. They just do it off camera. Who gives a shit?
But they're quick to hold everybody else accountable. We are a sports network. We're here. This is a sports show. So let's stick to sports.
I agree, because that's what you guys are paid to do. A lot of you ain't even qualified to stick to sports.
If LeBron James said half the things the president said, if Kevin Durant said half the things the president said, if any player in the National Basketball Association or the NFL remotely conducted themselves in the fashion that he has, they could potentially be ostracized from the sport entirely. They would.
Well, your statement, your argument makes very little sense, sir, because they don't have the same job description as the president of the United States. It's the same argument that people tried to make over the Jamel Hill statements in juxtaposition to the Sarah Huckabee Sanders statements when Sarah Huckabee Sanders stated that Jamel Hill should be fired. They tried to equate the two, not understanding that Jamel Hill's job is to talk about sports. She's now talking about politics. She's talking about politics, and she's making racial allegations towards Donald Trump that, quite frankly, unless she had information where he was using the N-word or things of that nature, she was not qualified to make those statements. Now, we know that the Trump family has had issues with housing and so-called black people back in the 70s and the 80s. As I've already stated, Donald Trump comes from a family that is based in a lot of Nazi ties. All presidents have Nazi ties, believe it or not, going all the way back to the 40s. They all have Nazi ties, even Obama. There is a Nazi shadow government that has been operating in America since Operation Paperclip. Okay? A lot of people might not like it. But, I mean, if we're going to open up people's file, let's open up everybody's file.
They wouldn't have brands. They wouldn't get endorsement deals. There's a lot of things that they would be ostracized from.
I want to pick up on that.
Yet still, when it comes to him, obviously as the president, who happens to be a billionaire, there are certain things you can get away with.
Obviously. Thank you, Stephen A. So then you never should have brought up that scenario, brother.
But you never expected him to get away with it to the point where people are sitting idly by and saying, we don't have a problem.
I want to pick up on that because we have discussed in the past how if someone who worked for this company said some of the things he said, that would be a real problem. So why should others be held to a standard that the president of the United States can sink below? That's actually part of his appeal, I think.
Absolutely. Thank you, sir.
Because many of his supporters, it seems to me, like the fact that he will fly in the face of political correctness. And by the way, I'm sympathetic to that idea. Everyone has to regulate their speech so carefully and be so careful of everyone else's feelings. Yeah, the PC culture.
Oh, please. You guys thrive off of the PC culture. What PC culture is perpetuated and stimulated by super liberals. And the only time that they come against quote unquote PC language is when they want to come against an issue that is held up by political correctness. But in every other situation, they want to maintain political correctness. That is where the liberals lose a lot of steam and they come up as hypocrites. When it comes to the so-called conservatives, They have their own standards of political correctness. It's just on the other end of the spectrum. So everyone operates according to a certain standard of what they call quote unquote political correctness, which is just a filter. The issue is that the media has created a universal filter for everyone in America that has trickled down into the corporate structure. And now people cannot express themselves properly because they have invaded the job market and the corporate structure with demographics of people who are in environments where they do not belong. You have women working around men in male positions, male-oriented positions. You have homosexuals working around heterosexuals. So now everyone is on edge. But it's hilarious when super liberals like Max Kellerman and Molly Karam have the nerve to bring up political correctness when their whole careers are based on maintaining political correctness.
And there's a backlash against that, and insofar as he represents that, I understand the appeal to some. But I think what LeBron and KD are, when you dig deeper, are saying here is you can be politically incorrect and still not cross the line.
No, sir, because everybody has a different line. So that's not possible. You either don't concern yourself with political correctness or you do.
Where the insensitivity toward others, like some of the PC culture, there is some use to it, where people who have been marginalized, whose feelings have never been taken into account, are now taken into account. And someone who is willing to trample that, or to give the appearance, at least to many, that they're trampling that.
You just made my point. You said the appearance to many. That means that he offends you personally. That's what I mean when I say everybody has a different line. So you cannot worry about political correctness. Either you do or you don't. Now, there is such a thing as what they call quote unquote decency, where you hold another person's feelings in regard. You try to put yourself in their place, what they call empathy. Now, that's a different issue. That's a different statement. But the line of political correctness is going to be determined by what you feel like is proper, what they call propriety.
KD and LeBron are responding to that. It's not okay.
I'll end it by saying this. There are going to be supporters out there of the President of the United States that are looking at us right now. It's like, we don't know what the hell you're talking about, because guess what? What facts do you have?
Well, we already know you guys have no facts. That goes without saying.
Kevin Durant said that the media attention around the environment is toxic. Did you see those comments?
I did not. I believe that's probably not the whole quote, so I'm not going to comment on that. I would love to see the whole transcript of what was asked of him, the context it was asked of him, why it was asked, and the whole thing. So I'm not going to comment on it because I'm not knowledge. I don't know the whole thing. That would be stupid on my part. I'm a veteran.
So for those of you brothers that read the scriptures, you'll know that in Galatians, the 4th chapter and the 16th verse, the Apostle Paul tells us, have I become your enemy because I tell you the truth? And the reason why he says that is because he knows the power of the truth. The truth separates. It brings division. It does not bring unity. Christ himself tells us that in Luke, the 12th chapter and the 51st verse. Why am I bringing all this up? Because at one point it seemed as if Kevin Durant and LeBron James had a sort of quote unquote friendship. In all reality, they're frenemies. Kevin Durant knows it and LeBron James knows it. But LeBron James was hoping that if he acted cordially enough towards KD, that he could seduce him into joining him on the Lakers. But with Kevin Durant's declaration that if a superstar plays alongside of LeBron James, he's basically just injecting himself into a toxic environment, it's become very apparent to LeBron James. It's become very transparent, as a matter of fact, that KD has now fallen for the banana in the tailpipe trick. He's not buying what LeBron is selling. LeBron sees that. Remember, when the story first came out, LeBron first tried to act as if, well, maybe the media tried to change up KD's words, but now, in his response interview that he held with Rachel Nichols, he basically is confessing that he was very angry when he first heard about the statement made by Kevin Durant, that his people were angry and that his family was angry. Why is he saying that? He's saying that because he knows that there's no chance that Kevin Durant will sign with him, so he might as well be real now. Because he's been fake for the last 2 years, hoping that he could seduce Kevin Durant into playing with him. But Kevin Durant sees the same thing that I've been telling you brothers about for the last 2 years. Superstar players do not want to sign with a LeBron James team. They do not want to play with him because they already know that the only system that LeBron James knows how to play, is the LeBron James system. And I'm going to hit you guys with something. A lot of NBA players, they're on YouTube. They watch these different videos. And they know what people think about LeBron James on both the good side and the bad side, the left hand and the right hand. And they have their own observations about LeBron James because they understand the inner workings of an NBA basketball team. And a lot of them don't want to be bothered with his nonsense. They know that he's on the way down. For the most part right now, he's stat chasing. Is he still the best player in the NBA? Most likely. Even though there are those who would disagree. I myself still think that he is by a smidgen. But just to get back to the point, it's very obvious that things are becoming much more transparent for both players, both KD and LeBron James. I think that KD would like to maintain the cordial nature of their rapport. But I think that now that LeBron sees that KD sees him for who he is, LeBron's not going to be bothered. But who knows? Maybe I'm wrong.
All right, let's start with the NBA, where two of the biggest names face off today. That would be LeBron and KD. Kevin Durant recently had some comments about LeBron, saying it's uncomfortable for elite players to play with him because it's a toxic environment with all the media hoopla surrounding him. Well,
and most of you guys in the media don't understand that. You were incredulous when he stated that because, like most people who are delusional, they have no sense of self-awareness. The media has no sense of self-awareness. That's why I call them the super liberal mainstream sports media. And a lot of obtuse people come on my channel. They say, why do you call them the super liberal mainstream sports media? They're not liberal. Actually, yes, they are. You just don't see it because maybe you don't notice the nuance. That's why I have this channel, so that I can make other brothers aware of how the media puts out their information, who their favorites are, and why their favorites are their favorites. LeBron James is a favorite of the media. Kevin Durant understands that. So he knows that if I sign with a team that LeBron James is on, they're going to blame me for everything. They're never going to blame him. If this guy could lose 6 finals and every finals that he loses, they have an excuse. What are they going to do if I play with him and we lose? They're not going to blame him. They're going to blame me.
well, our Rachel Nichols sat down with LeBron last week and asked him about this.
Now, one of the guys people have sort of loved to, in their fantasy basketball, put you with is the idea of Kevin Durant.
Yeah, one of those people was him. LeBron James was one of those people who had the fantasy matchup of him and KD. He just sees that it's not going to work. It's like the dude who likes the cute chick. And he finally gets the nerve to walk up to her and ask her out. And she says, no, thank you. He says, bitch.
He's got an option to become a free agent this summer. But then he had quotes recently saying that he doesn't think it's comfortable for other elite players to play with you.
And he's right.
He called the media environment around you, quote, toxic.
Yes, you're one of the toxic people in the media, Rachel Nichols, because you people bow down to this person here. A person who has lost in the big game twice as much as he's won in the big series. So the other NBA players don't see what you guys see when it comes to being so servile towards LeBron James.
What did you think when you heard him say all that?
I was a little pissed off when I first heard it.
You were pissed off LeBron James? The first time that they asked you about it after the game, you stated that you wanted to investigate because you believed that the media probably was twisting his words. Now you're saying that you were upset when you first heard about it. Why are you upset? You weren't upset when you first heard about it. You were hoping that the media was trying to cause a division between you and KD because in your mind, KD was your number one option. Anthony Davis was not your number one option. KD was. As a matter of fact, in your dream scenario, you wanted them to sign KD and trade for AD.
To be honest, I didn't know where it stemmed from. I was pissed.
I could tell you where it stems from. It stems from the fact that Kevin Durant wants to beat you, LeBron James. He don't want to beat you, he wants to beat you. He doesn't want to help you, he wants to beat you.
Pissed. My family was pissed. My friends was pissed. When I hear toxic, I automatically thought like, toxic is like you don't want to be around that. Because
yeah, kind of like Kyrie Irving, kind of like that.
Because it's almost like a fatal disease. You don't want to be around that.
Yep, kind of like Kyrie, kind of like him.
Got a phone call from KD. We talked.
Kind of like Kevin Love having a mental breakdown, having numerous mental breakdowns while playing alongside of you, LeBron James. Kind of like that.
Kevin Love posted on the Players Tribune an article titled "Everyone Goes Through Something," in which he disclosed his battle with panic attacks. He described the attacks as being as real as a broken hand or a sprained ankle. He said further, quote, "I was running from room to room like I was looking for something I couldn't find. Really, I was just hoping my heart would stop racing. It was like my body was trying to say to me, you're about to die. I ended up on the floor in the training room, lying on my back, trying to get enough air to breathe."
We talked about it. He mentioned how he felt and how he felt the story took a twist. And, you know, as a man, I don't hold on to things too long. I'm too happy in my life right now, and I don't hold on to anything that will take away from my happiness.
Those are great words, and I hope that brothers heed those words. You know, even though I scrutinize LeBron James because he's a Luciferian, and I know how he's operating. He's operating according to the convention that he basically is the center of the universe and everything revolves around him. And every other creation in his universe is there to serve him, and he tries to act like he's so magnanimous. That's neither here nor there. Beyond that, what he stated is essential, especially for the so-called black man. If you want to be happy or content with life, it starts with you. And negativity has to be removed from your life. You have to know how to manage negativity. You can't dwell on it. You have to know what's for you. As long as you're not breaking the laws of the land or the laws of the scriptures. For those of you brothers that believe in the scriptures, that is. For those of you who don't, good luck. But for those of you who understand what life is really about, it's pretty simple. It's not easy, but it's pretty simple. None of us are perfect, but we have to understand why we're doing what we're doing, and we have to be ready to omit negative forces immediately, because most of these people are extremely negative. They have no idea why their life is not going where they want it to go. It's because they're not willing to put forth the positive energy to guide it to where they want it to go. They don't have any devotion to what they claim their vision for themselves is. So LeBron James has that. There's no doubt about that. But at the end of the day, if Kevin Durant called him up to try to explain how he felt like the media or the story attempted to misconstrue his words, I'll say this. Even from the blurb that they reported, he made it very clear that it was not a direct attack on LeBron James. It was about the atmosphere that has been generated by the media around LeBron James and the people in the media who very clearly seem to have almost a personal infatuation with LeBron. So he made a point of saying that it's not about LeBron himself. The reason why LeBron took it personal is because LeBron James knows that he is the one who is emanating the energy that is being replicated by the media. So he knows, basically he's saying, KD, for you to insult the media, you're insulting me because those are my people.
So how did you two leave that conversation?
He told me how he felt, and he apologized on how it came out. And I said, all right, we move on from there.
In other words, F you, nigga. You don't want to play with me, I don't want to play with you either.
In this crooked game of power politics here in America, the Negro, namely the race problem, integration, civil rights issue, are all nothing but tools used by the whites who call themselves liberals against another group of whites who call themselves conservatives, either to get into power or to retain power. Among whites here in America, the political teams are no longer divided into Democrats and Republicans. The whites who are now struggling for control of the American political throne are divided into liberal and conservative camps. The white liberals from both parties cross party lines to work together toward the same goal, and white conservatives from both parties do likewise. The white liberal differs from the white conservative only in one way. The liberal is more deceitful, more hypocritical than the conservative. Both want power, but the white liberal is the one who has perfected the art of posing as the Negro's friend and benefactor. And by winning the friendship and support of the Negro, the white liberal is able to use the Negro as a pawn or a weapon in this political football game that is constantly raging between the white liberals and the white conservatives. The American Negro is nothing but a political football, and the white liberals control this ball through tricks or tokenism, false promises of integration and civil rights. In this game of deceiving and using the American Negro, the white liberals have complete cooperation of the Negro civil rights leaders who sell our people out for a few crumbs of token recognition, token gain, token progress.